I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
What's good, everybody? You are now listening to another episode of the Man Listen Show. Before we get started, let's hear a few words from our sponsors.
DD's Daiquiris is your #1 supplier of premium daiquiri mixes. You will love the taste of our classic margarita and signature strawberry mixes. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at DD's Daiquiris. DD is spelled D-E-E-D-E-E. You can also find us at www.dd'sdaiquiris.com. DD's Daiquiris, giving good vibes to good people, one good drink at a time.
Are you in the state of Texas and looking for a knowledgeable loan advisor that will walk you through the process from application to closing? Well, then you need to contact Joe Byers at Trinity Oaks Mortgage. Trinity Oaks Mortgage offers FHA, VA, and conventional loans. They also have a first-time homebuyers program available. There is also down payment assistance available as well. Make sure you contact Joe Byers at Trinity Oaks Mortgage. You can reach Joe at 972-512-8990. Are you looking for a virtual assistant who can help you with your scheduling, travel, research, and expenses? Demi Virtual Solutions is the answer for you. Demi Virtual Solutions also provides mobile notary services. They will travel to take care of your needs. So if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and need a virtual assistant or are looking for mobile notary services, contact them at 469-522-9005, and you can find them on their website at demivirtualsolutions.com. That's DEMI virtualsolutions.com.
More Grace Counseling and Mediation Services offers individual and relationship counseling as well as mediation services to the community. At More Grace, healthy partnerships are valuable and beneficial. Please visit the website www.moregracecounseling.com for more information about our approach to counseling. More Grace Counseling and Mediation Services, where we offer more grace and more healing.
Please buy the new book by Arika Nicole Moore, Diabolical Tales of Woe. Diabolical Tales of Woe is a thrilling collection of short horror stories that leave you in an excited trepidation to see what will happen next. Prepare to face one horrific encounter after the next in this captivating novel. You can find this book on Amazon in the Kindle and paperback version. That is Diabolical Tales of Woe by Arika Nicole Moore. Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. Please follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. You can also subscribe to the show on YouTube. Make sure you give us the thumbs up and leave a comment and tell everybody about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Mar B. Let's go ahead and bring in the crew. So, all right, on today's show, we're going to talk about a real important topic about a school district in the St. Louis area. To talk about that, we brought on an expert, a veteran of the St. Louis community, a dear friend of the show, another good alpha man, Brother Terry Wilson. Terry is a city councilman in the city of Jennings in North County, St. Louis, North County, and he's also the director of the Pagedale Support Center, which sits right in the middle of the Normandy School District. Terry, you got a lot of hats that you wear, man, in addition to dad and husband. So we appreciate you carving out some time, man. How you doing, bro?
Oh, man, I'm doing good, man. Glad to be back on the show, man. I enjoyed my time last time. It's just good to be back, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, Terry's one of our first guests too. Like maybe the first guest on the Man Listen Show. So, so man, for our listeners, who aren't familiar with St. Louis, right? Most of us are familiar with St. Louis. Explain to the listeners how St. Louis is made up, because you just think of like the St. Louis Metro when people visit, right? But actually, St. Louis is made up of a city and a bunch of a large surrounding county made up of small little townships. Break that down to the listeners and why that's an important piece on what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So St. Louis is a very unique place. St. Louis City is its own county, and for you all that are, social studies buffs, it's not that many independent counties existing. I think Baltimore and a couple other places in Virginia might have their own independent county. So we have St. Louis County and we have St. Louis City, which is its own county. And St. Louis City sits within its own county, if that makes sense. So like the people in the Kansas City area, they all in Jackson County, you know what I'm saying? So St. Louis is different. So St. Louis City is probably about 300,000, but St. Louis County is almost 1 million. But you put all that together, we close to 2 million as a metro area. And within St. Louis County, we have 88 municipalities, which means we got 88 mayors, and then times all the council people that make up those different municipalities. So some municipalities are large, some are very tiny, some are as tiny as 500. The city of Jennings is 17,000, and we're the 5th largest municipality in St. Louis County, and we're the 3rd largest African American municipality in St. Louis County. And the Normandy School District, which is next door to Jennings. Jennings is unique because we're a Black city and we got our own school district and we don't share it with no other municipality. But Normandy sits within 24 municipalities. So it's 24 municipalities that make up the Normandy School District. But, when you put all those together, it's almost similar size to Jennings. You know what I mean? So they're a little bit bigger when all of them are put together. But all of that was due to segregation and white flight, and all the Black folks came from the South and was all in the city of St. Louis. White folks, they, like they always do, they figure out a way to get away from us. So a lot of these municipalities were created to get away from the Black folks in the city of St. Louis, So that's where that whole divide comes in at really at the end of the day. So that's pretty much like the reasoning and the kind of background for folks who aren't familiar with St. Louis. So yeah, and that's where all the confusion come in at,
Right. Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why it's broken down like that. And for somebody who wasn't born and raised in St. Louis, it's hard to really understand like why is this like this? Because I remember we talked about this before when we talked about the racial oppression that's going on in St. Louis. A lot of people thought when they heard Ferguson, they said Ferguson, Missouri. Where's Ferguson, Missouri? But for us who are familiar, we just like, man, that's St. Louis. But Ferguson got on the map because of Mike Brown. Ferguson is part of the Normandy School District, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Mike Brown actually graduated from Normandy. Mike Brown didn't even go to school in Ferguson. He graduated from Normandy, and his mother just completed her high school diploma in Jennings. At the Jennings High School, we have an adult ed program that we offer to the community, and she graduated. She was actually our first graduate,
So Normandy lost its accreditation, right?
Yeah.
Break that down. What caused them to lose their accreditation, and what happened? What subsequent actions were taken by the state, and where are they at now? Like right now, we're in the news because those 24 municipalities, they have spoken out about their dissatisfaction with the Normandy School District.
Right.
But break it down, like how did they lose accreditation, and then how are we at where we at now? Has any progress been made, or what's going on?
So I'll take you back 10 years. Normandy has actually been provisionally accredited for well over 17 to 20 years. So they haven't really been fully accredited for a long time. So this isn't like something that's new. But 10 years ago, they were making progress, but they had a new superintendent that came in that wasn't a part of the Missouri system. He came from Texas. He a bruh as well. So, he brought a lot of his people with him to to St. Louis, as he should, to kind of get the district going in the right direction. And so he took a good approach. You know, he got with a lot of the nonprofits and put a lot of systems in place. But there was some conflict between him and the Department of Secondary Education in Missouri, you know, because he wasn't no punk. You know, he from Texas. You know how people are from Texas. And so he didn't back down, and he fought for Black children. And, you know, they ain't like that, man. They ain't take too kindly to that. And we were already provisional. So they was basically trying to set him up for failure. And so the first thing that the state did, they made him, they made the Normandy School District take on a terrible school district, which was Wellston, which is next to him. So you mean to tell me you got a provisional accredited school district and you're going to put it with an unaccredited school district and you're going to merge them together and give them 1 year to improve? You know what I'm saying? And
for people that don't know St. Louis County, Wellston is super impoverished.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
we know Black people from Wellston, and like Wellston is what we call, quote unquote, the hood.
The hood, for real.
But the way it's geographically located, they easily could have sent them to a predominantly white.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They could have sent them to University City. They could have sent them to U City. They could have sent them to Clayton. They could have sent them to Jennings. They could have sent them to St. Louis Public School. You know, there's a lot of options. But they put them with them on purpose because, like I said, it was a setup. And so they gave them they told them that they would give them 2 years to improve. And so the superintendent felt like, you know, they was being done unfair. And so he publicly spoke out about what they did to them, having them merge or whatever. And like I said, he made a lot of improvements physically to the buildings and the space. They brought in some community wraparound services. They was really making some strides. But like I said, you can't do nothing. You can't improve a 20-year problem in 1 year. And so, you know, the commissioner gave them 2 years, and come to find out, they had a whole nother plan. They yanked the accreditation within a year. And so they was unaccredited. And so they was kind of sitting in limbo. And so he basically got up out of there. You know, he was like, I can't deal with this. You know, he got up out of there. He moved back to Texas or whatever. And so they've had 4 superintendents in 10 years. And so the next superintendent that came in was kind of handpicked by the state, and he didn't last nothing but about 6 months. And then so what they did, they decided, okay, we're gonna press the reset button and change the name of the school district, like it's gonna make a difference. So they went from Normandy School District to Normandy Schools Collaborative, and then they appointed a special school board. But from there, they went all the way down. Like I said, when Dr. Lawrence was here, they was making some strides. You know, they weren't making like huge gains, but they was making some strides and getting on the right path. And we all know the way that the state measures success is biased when it comes to communities of color. You know, especially when you have high transient communities like the Normandy School District. You know, at a more affluent community or school district, you can pretty much instill some consistency with your children. You can follow your kids from kindergarten all the way through. In Normandy, you got kids that come in at kindergarten and then another district probably before they get out of kindergarten. You got some kids that come in 3rd grade and they don't make it to high school there, you know. And the sad thing is they get dinged for that based off how it's set up or whatever. So fast forward, the state been in place. They've been going down, high turnover rate, teachers leaving, is low morale, you know, people, you know, all over the place, test scores crazy, kids not learning, graduation rate low. It's just no improvement. And so they basically had this transfer law put in place. So not only are they killing the school district, they're taking the resources, because our transfer law, which was put in place by the state legislature, which is Republican legislator, basically says the school district has to provide transportation if a parent decides that they want to transfer their kid to a better school district. And so it was this big old thing once they fully lost their accreditation, where they was paying transportation for these kids to go to all different kind of places, man. So, you know, now you dealing with trying to get the kids on the right track. but you draining your resources. Your resources going to Clayton, your resources going to Francis Howell, your resources going to all these different places. So, you know, you really just in a bad spot when they took their accreditation, man. You know, and so fast forward to where we are now, the state board, who's in charge, been in charge probably the last 5 years, hired a superintendent who didn't have nothing but a substitute certificate.
So they hired a superintendent that didn't have a superintendent certificate.
Didn't have a
So
superintendent
there's no way
certificate.
that the school could be accredited if the superintendent didn't have a superintendent certificate.
Exactly.
How does that happen?
Exactly. And he told them that he would have his PhD 2 months after, you know, taking the job. But man, they paid this dude $216,000. So if they get rid of dude, his contract is for 3 years. So you're looking at close to $1 million you got to pay this dude out. And he not qualified. He the highest paid substitute in the state of Missouri, you know, because that's all he has is a substitute certificate and I don't even know if he got a master's degree. He got a master's degree. But his background, just not to discredit him all the way, but his background has been in charter schools, and he has experience being the executive director of some charter schools out of state. And so, you know, the whole plan is just messed up because the way he came in was just kind of bad. You know, the local mayors were used to working closely with the school. They had a coalition specifically to work closely with the school. And when he came in, it was like he wasn't paying them no attention. This dude put 2 ballot initiatives for tax increase and tax levies so they can get more money to do whatever. And you know, they didn't talk to the community about that. So a lot of the people were upset about that. Then and now they bringing in a charter school that he's connected with, but he said he didn't know nothing about, and he lied. He just lied since he been there. You know what I mean?
So
He's getting exposed now.
The importance of that, Terry, man, and what people don't know is that the only ones who are losing at the end of the day are our Black children.
Absolutely. Because
if you don't have any options, if you don't have a choice of where to send your child to be educated, if you can't afford to send them to a private school so they get a good education, right? They're just going to be further and further behind. If your child goes to a school that's not accredited, they can't get scholarships.
Right.
You know, so their options of going to college are limited. Right. So all that does is exacerbates the wealth gap, because now you have students who probably won't go to college, right? If they do, the probability of them doing that is very slim. We talked about Mike Brown. A lot was mentioned about Mike Brown going to college after graduating from Normandy. Mike Brown was about to go to like Vatterott, one of those schools that was like, you know, taking people's money and not really preparing them for the workforce in the first place. And that's not to, you know, dump on Mike Brown's legacy. Right. That's just talking about how that area, those people are being exploited. You are living in an area where the police is targeting you, right? They're targeting you with tickets or pressing you that way. You live in an area that was created because they didn't want us there. So they moved there and then they moved back. So we were put in these places because that's the only place they will allow us to live. Right. Our children aren't getting educated. And the only thing that happens is the wealth gap gets wider and wider. So that's why we want to talk about this, because it's important for the Black community. Because if you travel the US, if you travel our country and you go to different areas, you'll see a Wellston, you'll see a Normandy in every single city. And once you see, like, man, that looks just like in St. Louis, that looks just like in Memphis, you realize it's not by happenstance, it's by design to keep us down.
And then another thing I was gonna say, you know, when the state takes over, they really take our voice away from the school system and decision making, because one thing people don't realize, your local school board, when you have local control of your school board, people don't talk about this a lot, but I learned this a lot being a school board member. Man, really, to be honest, the state has no control over your school board or your school district when you have local control. Meaning, the state sets the standards that you need to meet, but they don't tell you what you need to teach. And so the school board and the superintendent is responsible for that. The school board and the superintendent is responsible for making the policies that govern your school district, and the school board says where the dollars go. That's one of the main things. they are responsible for saying where the dollars go. But now that the state is over that, there's no say so. And they're responsible for hiring a leader. You know what I'm saying? Like a school district that has local control, if somebody is not right for the job, they can immediately terminate their contract. But when you have a state that's in control, the voice of the community is gone. And if the school board members ain't doing right and they have local control, the community can vote those people out and put somebody else in. Right now, they don't have that option. And that's one thing that I've been really fighting for, to help them gain back control of their school district, because they don't have that option. You know, and since they did have control of their district, they've never hired nobody who didn't have the right credentials, especially since I've been around. You know, they've never did that. But the state did that. The people who we are so-called accountable to did that to this community. They wouldn't have did that in Kirkwood. They wouldn't have did that in Clayton, but they did it to our Black children. They did it to our Black community. And it's because we have no control over what goes on in their school district once they take your accreditation. And they took it unfairly. Like I said, they told them they had 2 years and they took it after 1 year.
Say one of the things that I try to do, you know, when you read a lot of these self-help books, to try to guide you in a different direction than your normal tendency might be. So one of the things that I focused on doing is, instead of talking about the problems like a lot of people do, I try to focus my energy on the solution, especially when I'm talking to somebody who can guide me in the right direction solution-wise. So what is it that I can do? What is it that, you know, someone who's not in the district like Marv C or Lav can do to help Normandy or even districts closer to them to do, you know, something for these Black children who are being left behind? What can I do to be involved without actually, you know, jumping on a school board or something, because I don't live in the area. So I don't want to be in control of what happens next, but I want to be able to contribute to making sure that they have control over their school district, like you're saying, which is so important.
Well, right now at this point, now that it's gone, the biggest thing that the community could do is rally around Normandy and send one collective voice to the governor, because the governor makes that decision at the end of the day. So we need to organize and get people on the phone. We need to organize and send letters. We need to organize and send emails. We need to take a bus trip up there if need be. But they need to hear our voice and know that we want control of our schools, you know, just like the other schools, because it's not like we can't do it. You know, I've been a part of a school district that was on the brink, and now we ain't been nowhere but up. And that changes with leadership. When you have people that actually care, we have people that are competent, it can work. You know, children can thrive. We got a 100% graduation rate, and we got 100% free and reduced lunch in our area. 100% graduation rate for the last 5 years. 100%. Our school district is accredited not only just in the accredited status, we're accredited with distinction, and you don't see that in a lot of minority areas. But it starts with the leadership. Leadership matters.
And
Whoever's at the top.
And let's break that down.
Yeah.
So when you look at school districts and you look at educators, because I'm married to an educator, they do look at different children differently. You know what I mean? They have, if you have one like my wife, I'll say she's a excellent educator. She's a guidance counselor now, right? But she's the one who will stay after hours to be the advisor for different programs, to give those kids, you know, to make sure that they're well-rounded. She's the one that'll get to know the parents and, you know, and we'll talk to them about, okay, like what's going on, to try to help them get over that hump, right? You know how like they be like, Mr. Clark used to love us and all that stuff. That's my wife. She's all the way into it. But you don't have quality teachers like that, right, in school districts like Normandy. You have the quality teachers that want to go to the higher paying districts where it's not much of a challenge, right? Those older teachers like, man, listen, I'm trying to just mail this in. I'm gonna go out here where I got the parents who are going to help. I don't got to work with these kids who have parents who work in 2 or 3 jobs, or who may have 4 or 5 siblings that's trying to share resources. It's a problem, and they're not being like, they look at kids like who are apartment kids, like you talked about those transit kids. The apartment kids are going to require a whole lot more attention than the kids who are living in a stable house. Right. You know, a kid that's living in a extended stay is going to require a lot more attention than somebody who's got a stable home, right? And it's a problem. So yeah, I mean, everything you're saying is on point. See, you got anything as a parent?
No, I mean, he pretty much answered my question with the Rica's. I was just going to say, so moving forward, like, what should the parents do to fix it? But like you said, once the state took over, it's not really a whole lot they can do right now.
Yeah. The only thing we can do is just put pressure on the governor, but we have to do that collectively. You know, we have people in different spaces, and we just have to do that collectively. And I want to touch on something real quick too, Marv, where you talked about, you know, your wife going the extra mile. It does something to a staff to know that they're supported by the higher ups as well. And I think that is one of the differences that we have experienced in the Jennings School District, man. We made sure that all the resources was in place. Our superintendent out raising extra money to bring in extra things. We got washers and dryers in every school. So, you know, we try to eliminate all barriers. We got a weekly food pantry in our school district. You know, we have 2 homeless shelters. We bought 2 homes, 2 derelict homes in the city of Jennings, fixed them up. We hired foster parents. So now you got homeless kids, they can go stay in these houses and go to school, and like a quality house, like these nice houses, these like big houses. You know what I'm saying? So when you invest in your educational system, you see the difference, man. Like our kids have the best of the best. When you come to our schools in Jennings School District, we from all the way from the science lab to the football stadium, we the only school in the North County area that got turf. And our football team ain't that good, but they got the best of everything. You know what I'm saying? They got good uniforms. They got quality everything. You know, we got a health clinic in all of our schools. You know, so people who have problems and can't get to the doctor, we got health clinics in our schools, man. So we try to cover all bases when it comes to, you know, issues in our community, because folks don't realize, you know, it's more than just education or educating these kids, man. These kids come with a lot of things that they didn't ask for. And as the school, we have to make sure we have to do everything to make sure that they can come in and they can learn, man. So,
that was really highlighted when the pandemic first hit.
Yeah.
Because across the country, all these kids got sent home.
Yeah.
So the more affluent districts, they had technology for each kid. So if you had 3 or 4 siblings, you didn't have to worry about, hey, are we going to share a tablet? You know,
right.
Get the tablet in the morning, who's going to get it right before lunch or whatever. Nah, each kid had their own technology, whether it was a laptop or a tablet. There was no barrier for education. But when I talk to my friends who are educators in more impoverished districts, that was an issue. You know, first of all, you may lose contact with the kid. Are you going to even really get them back, you know, involved into, you know, learning, because they're just at home, you know, they losing out on the meals that they normally got. Parents are working, so they're just home supervised. They may have 3 or 4 siblings. You know, I'm not trying to stereotype this reality. You know, they may not be able to, you know, have the same support at home. And we've seen that some of these kids are falling behind. We may start to see some years from now the effect of COVID-19 with how our kids are being educated, because we were all sad about, oh man, the seniors couldn't graduate. We need to be worried about these 3rd and 4th graders, because they're going to be behind. And when you talk about the school to prison pipeline, and how those predictors come from like who's behind in 3rd and 4th grade, and how that affects Black children, that's a problem, man. That's a problem.
You know, everybody says it's more than education. You touched on earlier, Marv, about the wealth gap. And that's another thing, particularly in the state of Missouri. Kansas City lost accreditation a while ago. They're fighting to get it back and everything like that. But one of the things that hinders schools a lot too is that the state, or not even state, a lot of times it's city, local governments, county governments are given tax abatements to property owners, to businesses, where they're supporting athletic venues, things like that. All that money is directly coming out of our kids' pot that they should be getting educated with.
Right.
A long time ago in a previous life, man, I said I was going to be a teacher. So it was one year I went into urban school in Kansas City, Kansas, to a middle school, and I worked early, and then I went the second half of the day to that school, and man, it was physically demanding on you too, because you did have all kind of other things that you had to deal with being in the classroom with those kids. And I'll never forget, it was a girl who, it was like the Valentine's Day dance, and you know, her mom, she was homeless. Her mom came up there drunk, like just in front of all the kids, and that little girl, man, this is middle school, she was crushed, man. And you know, that was definitely a traumatic event that is definitely going to affect her. It affected her the rest of her education, you know, and because we're taking resources from those communities, we're not able to actually attend to those needs. So Jennings School District, man, I definitely applaud you, man, for the things that you're doing. Like you said, the homeless shelters, the food pantry, that's something that, if you're wondering, I think we can all do something like that at our local schools, or try to see if that gets implemented to help those kids as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you talked about the food pantry. You talked about the homeless shelters that you have in the Jennings School District. And for those who don't know, Terry served for what, 10 years on the Jennings School Board?
10 years. My last day was the other day, and one thing that I was proud that I was able to do my last time serving as a board member, we gave raises, man. We did 3% raises across the board, and in the 10 years that I've been there, we've been able to give raises 5 times. So, you know, we pay well. So if you're a good educator, you know somebody that's quality educators, the city, Jennings School District looking for you. You know, we take the best of the best and we pay the best.
So we'll drop the link on how people can support those initiatives.
Yeah.
It's my hope that there's something that's going on in the Normandy School District that we can donate to if we want to assist those kids in the Normandy School District that need the assistance. And Terry, I just appreciate the fire that you brought to this topic. You know, I could tell you're passionate about our kids, and I'm so proud of you. I know you got a lot going on. I'm going to have you drop your information because you got a nice YouTube channel with your wife. I love watching it. Wife is running from office, so I'm going to have you drop that information as well, and just drop everything. But before we do that, I just want everybody to know that, you know, it sounds corny, but our children definitely are our future, you know, and we talk about it all the time. I come from a militant perspective in terms of like, hey, when my kids were in school, you know, my youngest is about to graduate from high school, I was ready to go to battle, because you got to go to battle for your children, because, you know, there's so many obstacles put in their way, especially if they're a Black child, right? Especially if they're a Black child, because they either go into a school like Normandy where the resources aren't there, they have poor teachers, and it's just a challenge after challenge for each one of them, or you have kids like ours who are going to more affluent districts where they don't want them. Or if you're able to pay for them to go to a private school, a Catholic school, where they really don't want them, and they're beaten down on their psyche and their mental well-being and their emotional well-being. So we really have to guard our children and hold our teachers accountable. And I beat up on the teachers a lot, and my wife doesn't like it, but I do applaud those who are like her, who go the extra mile and to try to save each child, because it's hard work to be a teacher, and they definitely deserve the raises that they've gotten. They definitely deserve all the money that, because they're the ones you saw when us as parents had to educate our children. Hey, they was like, hey, when can we send them back? You know what I'm saying? So you know the teachers are worth every dollar that they earn, for real, for real. Yeah. So Terry, go ahead and drop your information. Drop your YouTube channel. Drop your wife's campaign information. Drop everything, brother.
Yeah. So once again, man, I appreciate y'all bringing me on the Man Listen Show, man, and just keep it going, bro. But y'all can find me on YouTube, Wilson's For Real. Y'all looking for the newest food that's out, your boy gonna let you know whether to go get it or not. So stop by our YouTube channel, Wilson's For Real. My wife is actually running for fire board in our area. Her name is LaCrystal Wilson. You can find her on Facebook, LaCrystal Wilson for North County Fire District. And you can find me on Twitter at TWill06. Find me on Facebook, Terry Wilson. Terry Wilson, everything, Instagram, everything. So, man, just keep me posted on whatever you all got going on, man. I support you all 100%. I put the Jennings School District website in there. We take donations for our foundation. We started a foundation for the school district. You can find all that information on the school district. I put that in the chat. So, yeah, I keep doing what y'all doing, man. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the time.
Before we wrap up, I just want to, we talked about what can we do. And when we talked to Dr. Gwen, when we talked about the COVID-19 vaccine, and we talked about how our community is affected with health practices in the health industry. And she blew our mind when she told us, hey, we can get involved on the hospital boards. We can get involved with the school districts. Everything's important. Our voice is important. And you see, when we have people who care about Black people, like Brother Terry Wilson and the other Black people in the Jennings School Board, the Jennings School District, things happen for us in our favor. So that's the solution that we talked about, that we're talking about, Arika. Get involved. Find something. If you want to get on the hospital board, get on the hospital board. If your passion is kids, get on the school board. If you want to worry about the property, go for the fire board like Terry's wife is doing. You know, we have to have our voices in the places to be, so that we're just not on the table. We're not just sitting at the table. We're making decisions at the table, because if we ain't sitting at the table, we on the menu. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Man Listen Show. Make sure you share the show. Hey, we need to get our subscribers up, man. Yeah, man. Terry, y'all got about what? 3,000 subscribers?
We on the way to 4, man. We close to 4. Yeah, we at 3K right now, man.
Give me about 500 of them, man. We need about 500 more followers. You know what I'm saying?
We're going to keep it going, man.
Yeah. So, you know, make sure you follow the show, and make sure you tell everybody about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. We'll holler at you next time. Peace.
Peace.